Okay, the next item is item number 5. This is an application for a certificate of appropriateness at 285 Park Place in the Prospect Heights Historic District. Docket number 15-8219, block 1159, lot 82, a Renaissance Revival style row house designed by William H. Reynolds and built in 1898. This is an application to alter the bay window and construct a new deck at the rear.
Good morning, Carousel of Landmark staff. 285 Park Place is located on the north side of the street between Vanderbilt to the west and Underhill Avenue to the east. The application being presented before the commission today is to alter the rear bay window that's not visible from the street. The house is one of a row of 7 row houses built in 1898 that also have bay windows that are extant with varying levels of alterations. Proposed alterations for this building's bay window includes reconstructing the metal cornice to match the historic details and replacing the existing wood windows and transoms with a multi-light steel and glass configuration. The application also includes constructing a rear deck in the yard. Previously, the commission issued certificate of no effect 12-4862 in 2011 for replacing non-historic wood deck with new steel landing and stairs. And the architect, John Mitchell, is here to present the application.
Good morning, I'm John Mitchell. I've been working with the owners of 285 Park Place on the design of their renovation. As Karen mentioned, the house is one of 7 in a row built by William Reynolds in 1898. And you may be able to see through this oddly matched up photograph that the details in the facades are, there are many differences, as there are similarities in details in the front facades. The details are eclectic and borrowed from many styles, and clearly the architect set out to create a distinct group of individual houses. I've attached a letter from the owners. They wish they could be here today, but had to be away for a family event that's been long planned. And I hope you'll have a chance to read the letter. I think it spells out very clearly what they hope to do with the house. But since our time's limited, I will just make a few points that they make in their letter. First and foremost, they love this house, and they're committed to restoring the portions of it to remain intact. They hope to restore the front facade, going so far as to replace the windows and restore the wood brick mold, even though there are serviceable dual pane windows there now. In the areas where things have already been altered beyond repair, they propose modifications they hope will complement the existing elements and remain relevant for years to come. This is the case with the rear oriel window. The oriel window is in poor structural repair and needs to be removed. On page 7 and 8 of your handout, you'll see photos of that and a letter from the engineer describing the extent of the damage to the rear bay. It has been modified such that it no longer maintains its original proportions. The windows have been replaced with doors. Its stained glass transoms have been removed and discarded. The openings have been enlarged, and the non-historic stained glass panels have been installed. What remains as original are the cornice, frieze, and the trim above the transom windows. The neighboring bays have been modified too, some of them more than others. In many cases, the basement levels of the homes have been extended into the yard with the exception of the window next door at 283 Park Place, which is on the left there. The metal trim and cladding have been removed and replaced with what appears to be stucco, plywood, vinyl, and wood. What stands out to us in this photograph showing the 7 bay windows is the importance of maintaining the historic trim and cornice details above the window openings. Where this has been maintained, the fabric of the original appears present, and where it is missing, the original window appears lost. The proposed window replaces the already modified doors, siding, and transom with steel doors, windows, and transoms, divided lights. The wooden deck is replaced with a steel deck and stairs. The cornice, frieze, and trim are rebuilt to match the existing original trim details. The The proposal maintains the original footprint and the overall dimensions of the original and replicates the elements above the line of the windows. The materials and composition of the new elements would not have been exotic in 1898. If I could just quote once more from the owners. We live in a special neighborhood with a character that is defined in no small part by the buildings we all live in. There are houses that look untouched since the 1860s and others that date from the same era, yet have been completely rebuilt as to reflect the taste of another time. Ours lies firmly in the middle, and we intend to preserve all in it that is real. We love this house, and as its caretakers, our sincere hope is to put it back together in a style that will serve it well for another 115 years.
Thank you. I know you pointed out that you felt one of the features that is consistent within all the bay windows at the rear was, I guess, the transom at the top and the cornice. But have you also thought of exploring some of the vertical aspects of the windows that you see also repeated consistently?
We did. We worked with a number of designs in the early days. This is something that the owners were really interested in with this larger glass.
It just seems that it's somewhat, you have this very heavy cornice, and then you don't have any structure below that. So I'm wondering, even if you want to choose to keep this material, whether it's a way that you can at least accentuate some of the vertical, at least at the corners, and maybe that will show some kind of feature that's similar to the other windows. Yes, other comments? Yes. Roberta? Yeah.
No, somehow it reads as something bigger. I mean, it's, in terms of scale, just how it reads like, because it doesn't have any vertical divisions.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like the same. I mean, it somehow doesn't look like the neighboring or what it was before. So maybe it is just that vertical element missing that creates that kind of an illusion.
Yeah, I
Yes.
think if we're in comments, I think that the fenestration is not so much the issue. I mean, it obviously could be a door, it could be a window.
Right.
But this is unusual row. We usually don't make, we don't insist on bays, but in this case, you've got bays all along, and they're very similar in character. So this is just too much of a departure from, and it wouldn't require much to
Right.
get a little closer to the original, I think.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? All right, we'll take public testimony. Barbara Zay?
Barbara Zay of the Historic Districts Council. In the designation report for this district, the rear window bays are specifically called out as an intact feature of this row. HDC feels that the proposed bay redesign on 285 Park Place with its steel casement windows reflects a style more fitting for the early 20th century rather than the late 19th century, and would prefer to see the current one refurbished or recreated in sheet metal. Our committee also found the color scheme to be problematic, as the black paint would obscure some of the rear facade's nice details, such as the cornice and the panels on the bay window, while calling too much attention to non-decorative details such as the drainage pipes along the eastern edge of the house. The committee also found that the rear deck, which seems unnecessarily fancy for a rear facade, protrudes quite far into the rear yard. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more speakers? All right. Community Board 8, Brooklyn has applauded the owner's efforts, and they've asked they encourage the owner to work with Landmarks in terms of refining the design and as moving forward. All right. Does the owner want to respond to any issues, or it's fine?
Just the rear deck issue.
Yes.
It is-
Yes, please come forward and
Sorry.
speak. Yes.
The issue with the rear deck, it extends 8 feet off the back of the house.
And you said there are other intrusions like that at the rear of other properties, is that correct?
Many of the houses in the row have actually extended into the basement level, beyond that level.
The basement level, and then
The deck is on top
bay
of that,
window sits on top of the roof there?
no longer an orientation.
All right. Any other comments that you have? Yes, Marjorie?
Have one kind of general comment about the relationship of the oriole or the bay to the terrace. And it just kind of, it's sort of plunked on top of there. There's no kind of elegance in the relationship of that deck to the window, and it seems like there could have been more of a dialogue. And the original actually seems to have wrapped around it, and the staircase comes up, and it's quite elegant, actually, in how it responds to the Oriole. And I'm sorry to see that that kind of elegant approach or sort of sensitive approach to it is ignored here. So I recommend doing something else, but I'm not going to design it for them. But-
Right, and I just want to comment, I know that we've seen many things that happen at the rear. This one is a little different from others, where there is a very strong context, and it was noted as a feature. And otherwise, normally, I would not also weigh in so much on the design of this. It's otherwise, in form, it's very consistent with everything, and it's really just about material. I personally think that the porch is almost like a temporary feature. There may be a whole series of variations in the rear. And yes, there's a certain elegance to it, but I don't know if that's critical. I think the introduction of having some kind of stronger vertical elements at the two corners where chamfers will help. And even if necessary, if all the windows are not really opening out, and if it's just a single door, then maybe they can look at putting some kind of feature at the lower level to frame it, because that would be more similar to what we see in the existing condition. Does that seem appropriate and fine? Okay.
I just have
Yes.
one more. Unless I'm reading something incorrectly, it looks as if the drawing of the existing rear elevation is inconsistent with the facts as shown in the photograph. So,
Is there some inconsistency? Okay.
That's correct. It was, the deck was removed under a different, a previous permit.
Is that the question, Fred?
yeah, I just, between that and this, right?
Correct. That wooden deck shown in the existing elevation there has been.
Okay. Well, I think you're going to have to come back and,
I didn't understand. What was the issue? That there was a deck there that was removed?
It was removed, and there was a certificate to no effect.
Okay, there's a certificate, so it was a legal removal, is that correct?
yeah, I'm not suggesting it's not, just make it consistent. If you're going to show us a picture of what exists, then have the drawing.
So which exists? Which is it?
That is what exists. What they've shown us in the drawing is not what exists. And I'm not sure if that's reason for enough to bring them back, but I think at least you should correct the drawings and maybe resubmit them.
It's a matter of the Department of Buildings drawings need to show the previous condition. It is why it was correct. I apologize for the discrepancy.
All right, but what there is right now is an approved condition, isn't that correct? So why should you show the previous iteration?
The application for this, under which this change was included, has been amended, so we have to go back and essentially, that architect has been superseded, and we have to go back and document the entire project from the start to the end.
I see.
At the buildings department.
It's,
But not here.
okay,
I'm sorry, but
Your drawings are showing what buildings requires in order for you to document what was the last approved set, right? As opposed to what you're trying to legalize now.
oh, is that correct? You're legalizing?
no,
You're not, because, okay. I guess I'm a little bit confused, but,
They're all confused.
all right,
But the
but,
bigger issue is the design of
yes.
a new design that has, I think, to me, significant changes. I mean, it's a lot to ask staff to do, but I want to see it again, too.
You're talking about
Well,
adding
what-
those vertical pieces a
Yeah.
little bit on the
I
bottom.
mean, this is just,
messing with
I
that.
think this is inappropriate, literally inappropriate, and therefore it should come back.
In this particular.
All right, we'll bring them back. Why don't you come back show us the refined drawing? Okay.